Man, oh man, I've got 3 stories you need to know before you go into work tomorrow, or better yet, before you start investing. Because you may look at some of these and say, hey, I might want to avoid that stock. Or, ooh, I might want to go research that one a little bit more. Now, we're going to talk about Starlink and some partnerships they've made with telecoms. Shopify reducing rates for developers, which is actually a big news story, and, well, a gene shortage. So let's jump right in with SpaceX and Starlink. All right, so when we look at this, we see that Elon Musk is claiming, which I would say he probably does actually know this one for sure, that they have partnered with 2 telecom companies. Now, when I first read this, I said, interesting. Is this going to assist their backbone? And of course, Fox Business with all their stupid ads. So the first thing that popped into my head said, I wonder if Starlink is going to act as a backbone for the telecoms, for AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, etc. Although I guess T-Mobile and Sprint are now one, but anyhow. But then I started thinking about this other thing. Didn't a lot of these telecoms get licenses for 5G? And I started putting 2 and 2 together, and I got a feeling, just like Elon says, or this article assumes, that it could be used in order to meet the commitments that they're required to provide internet to rural companies. So let's dive right into this article first. So Elon Musk, we have 2 quite significant partnerships with major country telecommunications companies that I'd like to be able to announce now, but obviously we defer it to our partners to make any announcement, Musk said during a virtual keynote at the Mobile World Congress trade show in Barcelona, Spain. That occurred, guess when? Today. So he says that he's in talks with other telecommunications companies to provide Starlink access. And here's what I found really interesting. Noting that a number of countries require operators to provide rural coverage as conditions of their 5G licenses. Starlink could do that at a fraction of the cost. So you almost wonder if he's going to go, the consumer route's great. He's spending a ton of money. But if he can get a telecom company on board and say, hey, set up the terminal, they go through you, that's fine. He doesn't have to worry about the customer. He doesn't have to worry about the customer acquisition. It's okay. They'll handle everything, probably including tech support. So I think it's actually really interesting. Now, the other thing about this in the article, which was interesting, is we're on our way to having a few 100,000 users, possibly over 500,000 users within 12 months. I would be very interested. I wish there was a chart that would show the number of users on the bottom, rather, and then on the side have the speed of the network, and see if there really is a down curve to the speed, or if it's actually staying the same. But I digress. So right now the terminal cost is really expensive. In fact, if I remember correctly, they were charging people for the terminal. But $500, he says, I don't know, 300 or 250 or something like that. Now, I mean, he's got to lower that cost, because right now, what does a modem cost? What does a router cost? Pennies compared to a Starlink terminal. So here's Musk estimates Starlink could cost between 5 to 10 billion to operate before reaching full positive cash flow, and as much as 20 to 30 billion over the long term. I gotta tell you guys, this is a huge number, right? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see it. There it is. Cost between 5 to 10 billion dollars. That's a huge range, okay? You're basically talking about 100% increase from the lower end. That's a lot of money. I like Starlink. I like SpaceX. I think they've got a great business. When they IPO, which they're not saying that they're going to anytime soon, but when they IPO, I think this is a company that really they have revenue, they have products in the pipeline, they have additional products that can be utilized in the future, unlike some other companies that are going into space where you're kind of like, okay, what happens when you run out of people with $250,000 a pop? But anyhow, I digress a little. So let's talk about Shopify. Shopify is striking back at Amazon. Why? Well, Shopify, what makes Shopify great is all the extensions, all the developer tools. And like Apple, like Microsoft, like Google, they take a cut of the money in order to integrate it with the Shopify stores. So by Shopify doing this, they're cutting it to zero on the first $1 million that a developer makes. It's going to entice developers to say, ooh, you know what? It's not going to cost me $300,000 to sell a product on there. Not that they're paying it up front, but you get the picture. You make $1 million under their previous method. They were taking money from out of their pocket. So annually to 15% from 20%. Okay, so I'm sorry. That's more than $1 million annually to 15%. So that's 5% less. Developers will keep 100% of the revenue for the first $1 million they make on the Shopify's App Store starting August 1. The benchmark will reset each year. I think that's great. The same 0% revenue sharing model will also be applied to the theme store. So that's really good. I think Shopify is making the right move. They want to keep developers enticed, keep them developing for Shopify.com and the millions of sites that are created off of it. Great news. I think that stock is interesting to say the least. SHOP. Check them out. Hey, look, do your research on it. I don't own any of their stock, but actually I probably do in one of my mutual funds or ETFs. But, take a look at them. You never know. Now, there is a gene shortage. Why? Well, Bangladesh is threatening, or I'm sorry, they're not threatening. They already have implemented a lockdown for 7 days. Now, 7 days isn't really a lot of time, but when you look at global supply chains, 7 days means the difference of quite a bit of genes, apparently. H&M, Levi, they're all at risk. Now, a lot of people are like, well, wait a second, isn't it made in China? Like, what does Bangladesh have to do? Well, Bangladesh is cheaper than China to make clothes in. So stuff over time has been migrating over to Bangladesh from China. And now that there is this issue where 170 million people, or basically the entire population of Bangladesh, is going to be staying home, your supply chain goes all out of whack. And your 7 days gone. Disappeared. Poof. So, this is going to cause backups. And, when I'm thinking right now, shipments that are leaving, it's going to take a few months to get here. So that's going to be your fall clothes. So you could see a shortage of clothing in fall. Maybe late summer maybe is when you'll actually start to see it. But I think it'll be good. Anyhow, guys, this is all I got for today. Today was actually a light day on news, which I'm happy. There are some days where there's just so much where you're like, oh, can't choose 3 stories. But anyhow, remember, my name's Corey. This is Money Isn't Hard. We talked about Starlink and the Telecom. Going to be a great company to invest in if you can get in, do it. Shopify reducing rates for developers, which, hey, keeps them coming back and creating some awesome integrations for people selling. And, of course, the gene shortage. If you like the show, please leave a comment below. Hit the like button. And if you leave a good comment, even if it's bad, even if you're like, what are you talking about? I will reply. I enjoy responding to you guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe.